but we want to make sure that we get it right. And we had a lot of questions and some feedback on that. So, with that said, I'm going to call our regular meeting to order. Please stand for our invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious Father, we thank you for this day you blessed us to see. We thank you for bringing us together in this occasion, and we pray now that you would bless your people. We ask a special blessing for those in Western North Carolina, that you would restore families and lost homes and other challenges they're having. We pray for Florida as they are approaching another storm this week, that you would protect those people, Lord. We need you as ever before, your mighty hand to move and bless and protect your people. We thank you for this meeting, for the commissioners and mayor, for the wisdom you've given them to make good decisions, to make life better here in Hope Mills. Continue to bless them and give them that wisdom. Take care of their families as they are away from them to do this business. We pray your blessings upon us all and help us be the people you called us to be, loving, caring for each other. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Before we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to take the opportunity for a moment of silence for those families that have been so affected in Western North Carolina. Thank you. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please proceed. Item number one on our agenda, approval of agenda additions or deletions.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add two additions to new business to include Resolution R 2024-07 authorizing repairs for Diesel Circle and consideration for an application to accept Janet Singletary to the Homeless Advisory Committee.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Motion.
All in favor? Seeing none opposed, we're adding two additions to our agenda tonight. Item number two is official comments. A will be manager's report under tab 1.
Thank you, Mayor. There are a few things that I will be discussing as a part of my manager's report this evening. What you'll see is Old Mill Days is back, September 19th. Saturday, October 19th from 10 a.m. The Old Mill Day Luncheon is also back, October 19th at 11. On our manager's report in the community corner, you also see the food distribution that we did a few weeks ago. We hit over 638 families. Trunk or treat is October 25th from 5:30 to 7:30. I encourage any and everybody to register if you haven't done so already. Lowe's is having a public safety day for our first responders on October 12th from 10 a.m. to 2. Food trucks on site, law enforcement, EMS, fire department. You also see on the second page our Hurricane Helene relief efforts. We participated with Distinctly Fayetteville, who partnered with Veteran Services of North Carolina and Off-Road Outreach for relief. But I wanted to shed light on our first responders in terms of fire and police. Our fire department deployed with Section 18 of Grace Creek on the morning of October 1st, 2024, with orders to provide fire protection to the village of Chimney Rock Fire Department, which allowed their members to go home and tend to their homes and their families. That was accomplished by running 2 4-man shifts for 12-hour blocks, day and night. The second day, the night shift, instead of sleeping, assisted Bills Creek Fire Department with a 4-man team that provided fire protection for about 2 hours, then assisted with moving supplies that were dropped off by the North Carolina National Guard by helicopter. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office arrived and advised that the missing person list was extremely long and that they needed help to clear it, so the crew began going house to house talking to residents. As a result, they were able to clear about 75 names from the missing persons list while providing water and food kits made up by the Bills Creek Fire Department. On Wednesday, the crew stayed at Chimney Rock where they assisted with searching vehicles with one crew assigned to look for missing pets and ran off into the village. On Friday, they assisted the village of Chimney Rock with removing trees from the town's well sites and water storage areas in an effort to restore water service to the residents. The crew also assisted with locating damaged water valves on Main Street in order to turn them off, which prevented further damage. That night, firefighters DeAndre Woods and Deputy Chief Hubbard assisted Bills Creek Fire Department to load 2 separate 40-foot trailers with supplies that were actually being sent to another county in need. Firefighters that deployed were Deputy Chief Robert Herbert, Firefighter Jared Terry, Firefighter Sky Terry, Firefighter DeAndre Woods. As it relates to the police department, our police department deployed officers to Asheville, North Carolina on Monday, September 30th, 2024, to assist the Asheville Police Department with their response to the aftermath led by Hurricane Helene. Officers assisted with looking for survivors, helping open roads, provide security to prevent looting, and to keep residents safe. Essential needs for citizens in the area remain tied to food, water, clothing, hygiene products, and financial assistance. Police officers that were deployed were Lieutenant Derek Rowland, Sergeant Tony Mendez, Officer Tyler Cannon, Officer Ian Cortez. I want to stop for a second because a lot of times we lose sight of the sacrifices and the things that our first responders have to do. While we're in the comfort of our homes here in Hope Mills, I just read a small, and I mean a very small portion, and I want you to look at some of these photographs, a very small portion of everything they had to deal with just in Chimney Rock. I think Hope will tell you Chimney Rock has a population of about 100 and something people, but what you're not seeing here, this used to be a road that had houses on it or buildings on it. I want you to see where you see any structures. This is what they were doing for the last week, just for 4 days. But as you spoke to this, Mayor, this is something that the residents of these areas are living through every day. So while they're back here and while we're happy to have them back, that need is still there. It's one thing to say in Hope Mills, we're without power or we have to close a couple of streets. And it's another thing when the entire area that you know and love is gone. And that's a sign that tells you that there are people that are there that appreciate the service that our first responders are doing in these neighborhoods. So I definitely wanted to highlight that. I put it in the manager's report, but I wanted to specifically talk about not only the deployment, but what they were actually doing while they were there. And that's something I want us to make sure that we don't lose sight of because, quite frankly, we got lucky. That storm would have shifted about 30 miles. This could have been Hope Mills. So I definitely wanted to at least take the time to commend our officers. And I guarantee you, if I send them back tomorrow, they'd be the first ones heading out. And so back to the manager's report, we do have project updates on there from plan review. We do have an update on Heritage Park. We are getting close to completion. We're in the process of setting up the ribbon cut. I'm not going to announce the date yet. But I do want everyone to know it's going to be something special. I want you guys to understand we get ready to do something that's pretty groundbreaking and pretty powerful in Hope Mills. And speaking of groundbreakings, Culver's is officially ready. They received their certificate of occupancy on Thursday of last week. I talked to the owner today. He has given me the green light to announce that the ribbon cutting with the chamber is Monday, October 14th. And so I'm not sure exactly when they're going to officially open, but I'm ready for some cheese curds. But back to the manager's report. If you recall, in the last manager's report, I put the verbiage for the rezoning process. You now have an infographic in the manager's report. So each month or each report, you're going to see a further explanation of our processes. The next process will be the development review process. The process after that will be annexation. Then we'll go through to the different departments like stormwater and public works. But this section will remain almost like an educator on our processes and how we do things. And finally, I wanted to address some concerns that was brought to me about four-wheelers. That is something that has been. What is that on the agenda? You want me to wait till then? Okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
But the last page of the manager's report is the NCDOT construction updates. I'm going to probably update this as we get close to the start of the Golfview project to be able to put duration and things of that nature once they do start construction, but that does conclude my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. Any board members have any questions? I'd like to share with everyone that the manager's report continues, meeting after meeting, to get longer and longer because of the information that the manager is sharing. You're noticing tonight, we're back to Town of Hope Mills planning and zoning process, which will be a continuation going forward. And I think more and more that we can educate everyone about exactly the procedures in that process, because I hear so many questions about zoning and planning a lot. Especially like tonight, we're getting ready to kick off our Economic Development Committee, and we're going to be talking about a strategic plan for the town. These are going to work hand in hand in concert with each other. The Heritage Park has been a long time coming. That ribbon cutting will be coming up this year. So it won't be 25, it'll be a 24. But there's an opportunity there as well, because we got a part of grant to kick it off. It would really be great if we were to look at a part of grant for phase 2. And that is something that we'll begin to talk about as we go into our budget planning process in early January, is looking at phase 2 part of grant, which we can apply for, and we continue that process. And I know Lamarco's behind that as well, with the discussions that we continue that part. Board comments. I'll start with Commissioner Lake.
Thank you, Mayor. We ask you to keep the people up in the mountains in your prayers. You get who Mr. Bellflower's daughter is. And my grandson, he came in with a whole truck, or a whole pickup truck full of supplies last night and transferred them over into the box truck so they wouldn't get wet. He left early this morning, and I talked to him today. He said, "Papa, it's a mess." I said, "It's a mess." For a 24-year-old to look at it and say it's a mess, it must be bad. So we ask you to be with him while he's on his way back home tonight. I'm sorry, people, I'm a soft-hearted person. I just want to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lake. Commissioner Craver.
I want to recognize one of our children that grew up here in town and now he's a young man, Landon Farley. Stand up, will you? Landon graduated with honors at Southview this year, and he spent 4 years in the ROTC. Instead of going off to college, he's decided to enlist in the Air Force, and he leaves in a couple of weeks. So please, if y'all will, stop by and speak to Landon and wish him well on his next journey in his life. And Landon, I will say thank you for your service.
Well, okay. Thank you, Landon. Commissioner Scroll.
Skipping around, switching out there. Thank you, Mayor. It's good to see people in the audience as always. It's always good. I would also like to extend my thoughts and prayers to those in Western North Carolina. One of my Army battle buddies, when the storm hit, she was the first person I thought of. She lives in Burnsville, and I see a couple of people, you know, are you okay? Check in, and we didn't hear from her for a week, and very, very scary. And she finally was able to. They had to walk a bit to get to cell phone coverage. The families, you know, survived. Her parents' house completely destroyed, as a lot of destruction out there. Flood waters are no joke. I helped recovery process in Texas 1 year, and it's horrific. I mean, you're not looking ground level for recovery stuff. You're looking in trees because the flood waters are so high. So to see that hit so close to home, it's really, really tough. But again, North Carolina will bounce back from this. I have no doubt about it. Hopefully, Florida fares well with this storm coming, because it's looking like it's already Category 5, and that's hitting this week. So it's going to be a struggle. But
Commissioner, I will say we are tracking the conference.
yes,
That's supposed to be in November 14th.
in Tampa Bay.
In Tampa Bay. So if that is canceled or rescheduled, we'll keep everybody.
Right. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Scroll. Commissioner Marlowe.
I don't really have anything else to add.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray.
Same as Commissioner Martin, I'll be short. We've got a pretty packed agenda, but I would like to remind everybody of the One Love reggae concert that's being hosted at Festival Park this weekend in support of the Hope Mills skate park. So if you can attend that, please try to support it. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for reminding me. That's a huge effort trying to get our skate park funded. So that's a huge event, and I would encourage everyone to attend that, because there's a lot of thought and planning process that's going on with that skate park, and how it's going to benefit youth here in Hope Mills. I'm going to try to say something the best I can. Our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers are with all of those families in Western North Carolina. There is no possible way that anyone in those regions could have planned for a storm that hit that area as hard as it did. There's none. There's none. The loss of life, the loss of property is real. I know what a humanitarian mission looks like, because I served on one in Nicaragua some years ago when a massive hurricane came through Central America. And to this day, it's very hard for me to hold a spray can. And I will stop at that point. My granddaughter works for a company. She's been there 10 days, outside action, that is providing support to the first responder teams that are there. She's been doing really good up until yesterday. She got stung by a bunch of yellow jackets, a nest of them. I guess they are infested there now, along with bugs and flies, which pretty much happens because those bees, they lost their home too. But what I want to say tonight is that the character of our state and our great nation is when we come together as one. And we care about each other. We help each other. We're there for each other in the good times and in the bad. This is no time for politics, political grandstanding, hand-wringing, finger-pointing. It's a time to care for people. So what we have, may it be a lot or may it be very little, appreciate what you have, because in the blink of an eye, it can go and it can be gone that quick. Appreciate each other. And I think that's probably the unity piece that I want to share. Because that's what our character is. Our first responders that went up there, the teams that helped Chimney Rock and Ashland, and those that provided such a lifeline of support to the teams that are there. This is not over by any long shot at all. My granddaughter told me today that the next need on the ground will be for warm weather clothing because of the weather it's getting ready to dip down. So that'll be the next push. We're trying to get enough clothing, not only for the people that are affected, but for the amount of people that are actually on the ground providing support. And then we got this phone call later on today that her company may be relocating to Florida, as they're preparing for something that's going to come through Tampa and cross over Florida before it goes back out to sea. I don't know, this year we've had a hard amount of storms. We got lucky with this last one, and I think we'll get lucky with this one too that's coming. But just be mindful of those folks that tonight we sit here with lights on, they're sitting in the darkness. Just be mindful of that, and thank you. We'll move on to presentations. Item 3. Item 3, which is a proclamation recognizing October as Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month, and it's under tab 2. I'll read it. Whereas individual groups and long-term care facilities across the country are celebrating October as Residents' Rights Month, and the theme, The Power of My Voice, to emphasize self-empowerment and recognize the power of residents being vocal about their interests, personal growth, and right to live full, enriching lives. And whereas the observance points to the importance of quality in all aspects of residents' experiences: quality of care, quality of life, quality of service provision, and the right to make quality choices. And whereas the Federal Nursing Home Reform Act of 1987 guarantees residents their individual rights in order to promote and maintain their dignity, harmony, and individuality. And whereas the North Carolina General Assembly enacted legislation to protect the rights of residents in nursing homes through the Patients' Bill of Rights, and those in adult care homes through the Residents' Bill of Rights. And whereas the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program was created under the Federal Americans Act and by the General Assembly to ensure residents of facilities were afforded the same considerations and opportunities to exercise their basic freedoms that individuals in the community take for granted. And whereas a concerned individual can be an effective advocate for a single resident, the work of over 500 volunteer community advisory committee members appointed by local boards of county commissioners and making a significant difference in the lives of residents in care facilities statewide. And whereas there are approximately 50,000 individuals living in nursing homes and 41,000 individuals living in adult care facilities in North Carolina, all of whom should be informed of their rights so they may be empowered to live with dignity and self-determination. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jesse Bellflowers, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Oak Mills, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2024 as Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month in the town of Hope Mills, this 7th day of October. Next item up is the Cumberland County Council on Older Adults Overview, and that is under tab 3. You're up. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. My name is Lisa Hughes. I'm the Executive Director at the Cumberland County Council on Older Adults, and you all have a brochure from our agency. We're a nonprofit agency. We've been serving folks who live in Cumberland County for over 55 years, but 56 years this year. Our mission is to help older adults maintain their independence with dignity right within our community. And we do that by providing a whole host of both home and community-based supportive services. So I was asked to come here this evening just to share a little bit about what we do, with the knowledge that we are looking at opening a center that will also house a senior programs here in Hope Mills. And as a resident of Hope Mills myself, I'm excited to hear that. So the Council on Older Adults, we do serve folks that live in Cumberland County who are 60 years of age and older. But we also support caregivers, again, towards that mission of keeping folks within their home as long as possible. So just a little bit about some of the services that we do provide. First and foremost is our information and assistance program. When we have somebody who is looking for some type of resource and they don't know where to turn, they're calling the Council on Older Adults, whether it's one of our own programs or another community resource. We're looking to be able to provide that information to those folks. And we are excited over the next couple of years, we're going to be making some big improvements to that program. And we're going to be housing a senior information hub that's going to be even bigger and better, and will be accessible to folks in the community from our website as well. That will really focus on those senior needs and those senior resources. We also provide what's called options counseling. So sometimes folks, they call into the office and they know what they're looking for, but sometimes folks don't. They just say, something's not working quite right anymore and we need to figure out a new plan. So that I can remain in my home, or that my loved one can remain in the home. So we sit down, you mentioned person-centered before, and we're talking about the proclamation. So that's the key part of that options counseling, is to really figure out what that individual's wishes are, what their goal is, and help them meet that goal, empowering those folks to be able to do that. One of our biggest programs is our senior nutrition program. So Meals on Wheels for Cumberland County, that is us. We provide that through some hot and cold delivery trucks. We also have well over 100 regular volunteers each and every year, as well as a number of volunteers that just help out occasionally. So we're very blessed to have a large group of volunteers that help provide those meals to folks in the community through all corners of Cumberland County. We also do provide what's called a congregate nutrition program. So that is for folks who can't get out into the community to have a lunchtime meal. Meals on Wheels is focused on folks that are homebound, so folks that cannot get out into the community and need some help getting that healthy, nutritious meal. That congregate program is available for folks who can get out in the community, would like to be with others, fellowship with others, but still have that opportunity for that lunchtime meal. We have 5 different sites across the county, including one here in Hope Mills right now at First Baptist Church down on Cameron Road. Our next program that I want to mention is our in-home aid services. That's for those folks who need some kind of help, typically with personal care, as well as maybe a little bit of care inside the home. So providing a nurse's aide or a personal care assistant who can come in and provide that. We also provide home improvement services. So we put things like accessible ramps on homes. We also put grab bars in and handrails up to really make sure that folks can get into and out of their home safely, but also move around their home safely so that they can remain in that home. We also focus on social supports for our seniors. So there's a big connection to social support and cognitive health. So we want to make sure that the social supports are also provided. We do this again through volunteers. So close to 100 volunteers that provide telephone calls to seniors or that provide home visits to seniors. Go out and just provide that companionship piece. We just started a couple of years ago our Alzheimer's disease and related dementia community support program. So we provide awareness and education to the community, providing educational opportunities through classes and presentations. We also provide memory screenings through the National Memory Screening Program with Alzheimer's Foundation of America. And we also provide caregiver supports, so support groups. We have 3 support groups for caregivers. Every month we provide an in-person support group as well as virtual support groups, really making sure, again, that we're supporting those caregivers so that they can keep their loved ones safely at home and take care of themselves. We also provide some caregiver classes. So we have a class called Powerful Tools for Caregivers, focusing on that caregiver to give them tools to take care of themselves so they can care for their loved one. It's a 6-week class. Before I came here, I just finished class 5 on Zoom and then came down to the meeting today. A new thing that we've just started to offer actually with this program is our respite program. So respite is providing that caregiver a break, and we have funding to be able to provide vouchers for folks to be able to maybe hire a neighbor down the street that they know and that is very familiar with their loved one. They might work with one of the companies that we have an agreement with or another home care agency where we can provide those funds so that individual can come in and give that family caregiver a break, a much needed break for both themselves and for that loved one. And we also partner with a statewide nonprofit called Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. Again, for those folks who are living with dementia, providing personalized music kits. Music has been shown to improve communication, sleep, improve acceptance of care, and just overall sense of well-being for folks who are living with dementia. So these are personalized music kits that really speak to that individual. And then finally, we also offer the Senior Health Insurance Information Program. That is our Medicare counseling. October 15th through December 7th is open enrollment period for folks who are on Medicare. So throughout the year, we provide individualized appointments as well as a Medicare 101 class, telling folks the ins and outs of Medicare. But during open enrollment, we have appointments pretty much 5 days a week so that we can make sure that folks know about what their options are with Medicare. And if they need to make some changes to their drug plan, we can help sign them up for that. So that is a very just brief overview of some of the services that we do provide. And we would love to certainly have the opportunity to talk about if there's any way that we might be able to provide some support for the new senior center that is looking to open here in Hope Mills.
Well, now, that was kind of
Very short and sweet.
very much. There's no question that there will be a partnership of services because look what you offer. And I tell you, the caregiver program is probably one of the most important because they are right there with that loved one individual, and they depend on them.
Exactly.
So, any questions from the board?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Like I said, welcome to come back anytime and speak about ways that we can partner in particular. So thank you all so much.
Next item up is item C. I think Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray and I know this lady that's coming up here from Fayetteville Technical Community College, where we work every day. The Employer Workforce Engagement Overview under tab 4.
Good evening, thank you, I appreciate your time tonight. A lot of good information I'm going to share with you. You've heard a lot of good stuff already. So I'm going to be tallying from side to side here. So we're talking about engaging a workforce. I'm Nori Brantley. Nori writes the story. My job is to make connections. We have a campus full of students who want to go to work, and my job is to connect with employers in all types of areas to tap into that talent pool. To me, the biggest advantage to working with us at Fayetteville Tech to connect with students now while they are still students is that you get access to talent before your competitors do. So if you wait until they graduate and they start looking for jobs, then everyone has access to them. At this point, you have to connect with someone to have access to them before they graduate and see your competition to the punch. So that's what I'm hoping to help you do today. So what we want to do is talk about all the different ways that we can partner for success, whether that be apprenticeships, work-based learning. At Fayetteville Tech, we call those internships, and direct hires. So a lot of people use the term internship and apprenticeship interchangeably, but they're very different. So an internship is short-term. It usually runs a semester. It could be paid or unpaid, and the best case scenario, it might lead to a job. Whereas an apprenticeship begins with a job. It's just a structured on-the-job training program. So just keep that in mind as you hear terms apprenticeship and internship, is that they are very different, and they serve different needs, and they serve different people in different situations. But again, whether that be an apprenticeship or an internship or a direct hire, Fayetteville Tech's kind of a one-stop shop for your staffing needs. So at Fayetteville Tech, under I say we have two sides of the house. We have curriculum, where most of you are associated with a degree program, whether that be business or nursing or marketing or plumbing, whatever the case may be. And then we have a continuing education side of the house, which is more short-term training. People aren't in a degree program. They're looking to get through a shorter-term program to get to work. But again, we're a one-stop shop for talent. So with apprenticeships, it's a great staffing solution, but you have to have an open position. I had a conversation years back with PwC, and they said, well, we would love to bring in apprentices, but we can't hold a job open for 2 years. You're not holding job open. If you have a job opening, you would fill it with an apprentice. They would finish school, they'd be going to school, they might not be able to work 40 hours, depending on what their class schedule looks like, but you're putting them in that position. So you wouldn't have to budget money for apprenticeship opportunities because you've already budgeted money for those particular jobs and those training programs. Most of those last about 2 years though. And they're not just in the trades. They can be IT. At Fayetteville Tech right now we're registering IT apprenticeships, grounds, facilities maintenance, of course automotive repair, auto body repair. We have at Cumberland Coffee Roasters right now here in Hope Mills. We have a graphic designer that works there, not a barista. All right. So another, if you tap into our short-term training programs, we have a HOPE initiative, and those programs offer incentives for employers. So anytime you tap into the talent, you tap into Fayetteville Tech students, a lot of times you're going to find incentives. So a short-term training program like property maintenance, I'll show you a flyer about those in just a minute, and some other ones. After they take the 8, 10, 12 short-term weeks of short-term training, you get to try them out for free. I sell it as a free 60-hour job interview. In 60 hours, I think you get a good idea if somebody's going to be a good fit in your organization. Are they going to show up for work? Do they do what they say they're going to do? Are they going to be able to produce? So 60 hours, work-based learning funds pay for that. So a free 60-hour job interview. Once you hire that student, you get $1,000 for the mentors. And then if you're paying $16 an hour, when you're about sustaining wages, if you're paying $16 an hour, you can be reimbursed for up to $8 an hour through, at this point, it's through March 15th. We're hoping that those funds will be extended because there's still plenty of money left to spend. But at this point, we can't guarantee that it will be past March 15th. But these incentives equal about $9,000 in incentives. So a great way to fill open positions, especially entry-level positions. So some of these classes, don't be put off by the names of them, because some of them were developed for specific companies in mind. So water utility line construction, this class, it's kind of hard to read there, was developed actually for PwC, but it doesn't work. These classes that I'm getting ready to show you, I see them as having basic construction transferable skills. So you might not have a water utility line position, but like the town of Spring Lake is looking at these, especially this water resource line, as like folks who are meter readers. Again, it's basic transferable skills. And these classes are going on right now. This one, it runs from September the 9th through November the 4th. With these classes, with this HOPE initiative, we bring employers in to interact with the students. so that you do meet and greets and get to know the students even before they graduate. So here's another one, it's Building Construction Technology, about 12 weeks. This one runs the 16th of September through December 10th, and we have employer meet and greet dates in. With these, all of these courses, there's an OSHA 10, so there's a safety information that's plugged in. All of them basic construction, some welding, some plumbing, things like that. And then there's this property maintenance technician. Again, some people go, we don't have property maintenance, but what these folks are learning with the OSHA, there's basic HVAC, basic electric, basic plumbing. It's just transferable skills that these people can go to work. Good talent pool, and there's the up to $9,000 in incentives to work these things. There's also this child nutrition assistance. I don't know if this would play in to what you have to offer, but you folks have connections with other people that may be interested in working with these particular programs. So Cumberland County Schools uses this class to recruit for child nutrition. There's also, outside of trades, there's also registered medical assistant, phlebotomy, cardiovascular monitoring tech, those types of courses as well. Again, if you have entry-level positions, I looked and the last thing I saw that you had were all public safety, so they don't apply specifically to these programs, but that doesn't mean that there are opportunities with them. You have to keep thinking. So Mill Bellflower's mentioned to me, said, okay, well, what if we had $25,000, what could we do with that money? So I propose that the best thing for you folks would be to think about work-based learning interns. So those students get course credit. They're not green students. They're students who've had at least 12 hours in their program area. So if you're looking for someone in accounting, they're not first semester accounting students. They've actually had some accounting classes or marketing or IT or whatever the case may be. You don't have to pay them. Internships could be paid or unpaid. But if you really want an intern, the way to get them is to pay them. And to me, it's smart for economic development for the town of Hope Mills. I was telling the mayor, our students don't realize and think about that there are job opportunities for the town of Hope Mills because they just don't know what's out there. So you bring in an intern and pay them, and they go, oh, I could work here. This has been great. They've already got a foot in the door. You see that they can produce. So if you did work-based learning internships, like I said, they're tied to a semester. So there would either be an August, September, or October start date for them. You could do a student that was in a 16-week class or an 8-week class, and they get course credit. Some programs, more and more, are requiring a work-based learning component, but for all the programs, it is not required. But of course, I think it needs to be encouraged. What happens when they graduate, they go out and they look for a job. And employers, companies say, well, what experience have you had? And they say, well, none, I've been a college student. Well, yeah, but you worked at McDonald's, you worked at, Lowe's or Home Depot. With work-based learning internships, you can start working, get some experience in your field of study, so that when you graduate, you say, well, I did work at Home Depot or Lowe's, but I also did an internship with the town of Hope Mills in my program area in accounting or finance or marketing or IT or what the case may be. So with a budget of $25,000, you could do 10 interns working 10 hours a week, or you could do 5 or more interns at 20 hours a week. So 1 credit would be 10 hours a week. So again, it depends on what you're looking for. Interns are problem solvers as well. I mean, you're doing a good thing by helping a student, but it has to make sense for you. Just like a business is not going to take an intern if they're not going to make money. An intern has to add value. So interns can be problem solvers. So maybe there's a project that a particular department needs to do, but they need help with that. An intern can help with that project. The city of Fayetteville brings interns in to ride fast buses and preview and see where the problems are, or to do different checks of how IT interconnects with all the different departments. You could also use an intern. Maybe Jill and Jamal need to work on the project, but the phone won't stop ringing. or the people won't stop walking in, and so they can't do the project. So an intern can fill that need and solve that problem so that they can work on the project. So interns are problem solvers. It's not about, like in the 80s, all right, yeah, let's bring in an intern. We can put a desk over here. All right, now, the first week you find something for them to do, and then the second week I'll find, it doesn't work that way. They're there, they're being brought in for exposure for them, but there has to be a value add for you as well. So that's what I recommend. And think about, again, not just trades, but they can help out in the trades. But most of the folks that are looking for internships have tendency to be outside of the trade. So think HR, inspectors, could your inspectors use some help? Admin, development, planning, finance, your fire department, public works, stormwater. That's just a few areas that I looked and I thought they would be good fits for an intern. So again, that's just an overview about a couple of different ways that we can partner. I've had interactions with your staff, and they've heard a little bit about ways that we can partner, and I just think it's a good fit. Again, we have a talent pool at Bell Tech, and we'd love for you folks to tap into that. So, you have questions for me?
Okay, questions from the board?
Thank you for your time.
I'm done.
I'm sorry.
One of the interests, when I attended the mayor's conference down in Wilmington a few weeks ago, and some municipalities were talking about internships, and they were talking about funding, like the $25,000. There was also, and I didn't get the name of exactly what grant it is, but there was a matching grant that if this was a successful program within the municipality, there was actually grant funding to go with it. So that's what interests me with the internship and how it works very successful with other municipalities.
And you can kind of plan it out. So if you budgeted money, 50,000, doubling up here. So that would be, say, if you paid, $12 an hour, that's going to be, about $2,000, $15 an hour, at $2,400. So if you brought in with $50,000, you could do 20 interns. You could do, theoretically, have one in your or two in your different departments, or bring in fewer and have them work more hours and really, really get their feet wet. But you could plan that around the projects or the things that are going around in each department. If every year in September, finance has to do whatever, then you schedule it so that you have interns in there to help those folks. Whereas March, maybe HR department hectic time when they're doing things, and you would schedule an intern or two to come in during that round. So you could do that with your strategic planning. Who needs help, and when do you need help, and then put the interns in during those strategic times.
We have a lot of students that attend the FTCC that live right here in Hope Mills community. And they probably could benefit from this if we were to package it up and offer it away.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you give peripheral treatment or peripheral tongue-tied consideration to folks who are in Hope Mills. Growing your own.
So many businesses, you have potential applicants that will go and apply for a job. They've got a semester or two of classes at FTCC, but when the employer asks them, do you have any experience? They say, no, I don't have any experience. I go to college. And this is an excellent opportunity for them to gain experience.
Absolutely.
In a nice packaged partnership.
And again, you don't have to pay them, but if you really want them, you need to pay them to get them. Because a lot of students say no. A lot of our students are adults. I mean, the average age of our Bell Tech student is 28. And I think that's low because we have a high school on campus. We have 1,800 high school students, so that has brought that number down. But they're working adults. And so if you want to get them, and tell them, again, if there's a position open, you got your foot in the door, you do a good job, it could lead to a permanent position. And it's economic development.
It is. Okay, no other questions? We thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Next item up is item D. It is the Artist Village Holiday Market on Trade Street, and that is tab 5.
do believe there's a play coming up.
Oh.
October 18th, 19th, 25th.
Let's start there and then go, and then,
Yeah.
yes, let's just start there and go through the presentation.
We have Dracula coming up. Well, first, for those who don't know me, hi. I'm Caitlin Davis. I'm the Assistant Executive Director of Artist Village. I know many of you are familiar with Artist Village, but for those who aren't, it's a 501c3 nonprofit arts organization in Hope Mills. In the past, so far, we've done, I guess this is our third production. We have a community choir who's actually meeting right now, getting ready for Christmas. Thanks so much. And as the mayor said, we have a show coming up in just a couple of weeks, Dracula. The tickets are $10. Real economical. It's a good night out. It's a radio play. We'll take you back to 1940 and show you how they did it then. So it's a great time. Live sound effects and all. But today, I'm here to talk to you about our proposed holiday market. We've done, I believe, 3 or 4 now artisan fairs down on Trade Street, and our last one was just a few weeks ago. And our best guesstimate is that we had about 250 or so people come through Trade Street, all local artisans from Hope Mills, Cumberland County, and surrounding areas in the state, and they all had a fantastic day sales-wise, which was good for us to hear. But think German Christmas market, think, you know, handmade toys, that kind of idea. And we have been asked many times to kind of expand our artisan fairs. And so we thought, what better way to do it than to tag team with Parks and Rec here on the tree lighting and the Christmas parade and offer a holiday market. So we've had some talks with Maxie and Megan over Parks and Rec and also LaMarco as well about how we could do this. And so you'll see here, this is kind of a rough layout sketch of what this might look like. This would happen on Trade Street December 6th in conjunction with the tree lighting. December 7th during the day before the Christmas parade that evening, really to bring traffic down through that area of Hope Mills, the downtown area that everyone loves. And it would feature all local artisans, again, statewide. I know I have a lot of friends from the western part of the state that are artisans who are now looking for places to go, because obviously rebuilding, they are, you know, have to have money and sell their wares. So, and the holidays are a great time to do it. And so this is one way that we're looking to help them out as well. Here's a little proposed layout. We're looking at having artisans, craft people, makers all through the street, as well as, if you think the main big intersection, Trade Street and the lake, at that end of the street, having a performance stage in that parking lot, as well as a kids zone. Our performance stage would feature local musicians, local groups, school groups, anyone really who wants a place to perform could come, and that would happen throughout the night and the next day. A few food trucks down in that other area as well. To bring them in, this is just kind of a zoomed in of that area. Our hope is that in our kids zone, activities, crafts, letters to Santa, potentially a kids talent show spot. We're working on that idea. Family photo ops, things like that down on that end. Throughout the street, artisans, food trucks on the other end, not to conflict with the tree lighting foods down that way, but in partnership with all that as well. And we're also planning on hosting a booth decorating contest, since this would be at night, so the top 3 vendors that we voted on by those in attendance would win maybe a gift card, local things as a thanks for coming and decorating your booths and storefronts as well. And then just kind of a wrap up, I know a big concern initially when we talked with Parks and Rec was about businesses staying open that are on Trade Street. We've talked to, I would say 95% of the business owners down there that we've been able to catch, and they are all super excited about it and are happy to stay open and be there to help bring some traffic to the area. So we just wanted to share that all with you and bring it in and see what you all want. Essentially. The short version.
It's a very short version. But it can be longer.
It can be longer.
Okay, board, any comments? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's an awesome idea. I'm looking forward to it, because I mean, I know we're gonna get tree lighting regardless, and to have just more extension on that, I think it's, you know, it's gonna be awesome. If you need any help, you know where I am.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Squirrel. Anybody else?
I appreciate the opportunity that you've given the board to participate in this. Excuse me. There's a lot of work that you guys have to put in here. We just happen to know the guy that owns the funeral home across the street in case it rains. She said, "Push it right on it." Get afraid of that right.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm just looking forward to it.
Excuse me, Mayor. I just wanted to add that there's a corresponding ordinance on consent that goes along with this item. So if you do have any questions, if the board has any questions, it will be the time now.
I'll call him tomorrow, just in case you need him. I think Casper got his number.
Okay,
Okay.
as our town clerk Ashley just said, that item is under consent, item C, and we'll get to that here shortly. But it's an excellent idea. It truly, truly is. And the more that you guys can bring culture and arts alive
That's our goal, that's our
to
goal.
our community,
Absolutely.
everyone benefits from that. And we thank you so much.
Thank you. No dump tanks, it's too cold. We won't, no dump.
No, we're not doing it. No. But I will see you. Dracula.
No.
All right, next item is public comments. I don't have a sheet, so, I do have a sheet's coming. Okay, we only have one speaker for tonight. For 3 minutes, it will be Sally Bates.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Sally Bailey. I live at 5857 Bainbridge Road, Hope Mills. Got a couple things, okay, real fast. I have a question for all of you. How many of y'all know where the bale that used to be in the cotton mills, the iron bale, do y'all know where that's at?
Well, the bell? It's in
None of
the,
y'all been?
yeah, I know where it is. It's in the
Okay.
gazebo.
All right, they put it in the gazebo a few years ago. It was presented to the town one night with Mr. Bradford, okay? Mayor, Mr. Bradford. Someone had called him this one weekend or something that they had found it, cleaning out, selling it, whatever. So he went and got the bait, all right? So it sat around here for a while, and they finally decided that we would put up this gazebo over here beside the town hall. And against my better judgment and some more of us, they stuck it up there. Okay, so first let me give y'all some more history on some stuff, okay? These bales are antique. They do not make them anymore. What year this set in the mills, I have no idea. Before my time in property off, okay? So this bale is sitting up there waiting for the fall. And when it does fall, that's going to be it. And I would love to, along with some other people, because if you think about it, that gazebo is not the most sturdiest thing I've ever been around. Hurricane come through, it's gone. It should have never been put up there anyway. No one can see it. It just sits up there. So I would love to see the board work, and I know I have requested it to move before, and they said, oh, it will cost a fortune to move it down because you have to get a crane, a small crane to come in and move it. It's too heavy for adults to move it. And let's find another place for it. We have police department out here, new safety building, fire department, the police, all of it. Why in the world could we not put it in a brick building, not a building, but a brick, what do we even call it? A step, something like that to put it on. We could put it in front of the town hall. I would prefer it being somewhere where the rain's not going to hit it so much. That would be another thought. So we need to think about that. We need to talk to someone about preserving this antique barrel. You know, they do rust, whatever. We would like to preserve it. Okay? And that is it. Let me ask one other thing real fast, okay? I volunteer for the Volunteer House, okay? And with the disaster that's been going on in our mountains, started picking up stuffed animals, okay? So I've got this plan. And if any of y'all have stuffed animals that have not been used, maybe gently used, okay? That if you could bring them and maybe drop them by my home, okay? Or if the town of Hope Mills would be so nice to let us put them in some bags here, I'll be glad to pick them up. I want to put bows on them and everything. I want to box them up, not wait till Christmas to get them out. These kids have lost everything. If a stuffed animal, anything that would give them some type of relief, something to hold on to. They've lost it all. I cannot imagine losing this much, okay? But anyway, if we could possibly do that, y'all work with me. I've already got a bag full of them, okay? And I got those from Mom's house. And I would really appreciate some people helping me with that. And I know all our children got stuffed animals and they don't play with them, okay? I've got a few at my house, I don't play with them too, okay? So anyway, if y'all would, I would greatly appreciate it. And thank y'all so much, okay?
Thank you very much, Sally, for the comments about the bell. We'll look into it. I think it's probably an item for the HPC, Commissioner Marlowe, to look at. That's where the discussion will start. We'll be with the HPC. Okay. Moving on, we go to the consent agendas next.
I'll say it.
Okay. We have items A, B, C, D, and E under the consent agenda. Motion to approve, second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, consent agenda is approved, and none of that will be moved to new business. Next item is item 6, and that's old business. There are none. Now we get into a lot of business tonight under new business that will benefit our community. Item A, approval of the USDA Beaver Management Contract 2024-2025 and authorizing the town manager or his designee to sign proposal of services. That's under tab 11, Chancellor Children or Beth. Sure.
Does anybody have any questions about why we are entering into the Beaver contract for the, I think, 4th or 5th year now?
I'm just glad we're doing it.
I think it's that we've been catching a lot of beavers.
So we only use the USDA on an as-needed basis. So we budget a good bit, and we typically spend about $2,500 every fiscal year. We have certain areas that they will come back. So Railroad Street is one of them, and what happens is they back up water on our residents. We don't have anybody on staff that's actually legally allowed to trap and dispose of beavers, so USDA does, and they contract with other municipalities, PWC, CSX, but we typically have an issue over there. We have had an issue in Steeplechase. There is a pond in the back that they had actually clogged the entire outfall pipe, and we got a call. The neighbor's yard was like, the water was up to the back door. So we do frequently use it, but it's very inexpensive. We just allot a certain amount each year just in case.
Just never thought about beavers being right here, I guess.
They hide in little nooks where they can find some flowing water.
What do they do with them when they catch them?
They get rid of them.
They relocate them. I can tell you that I know they exist because I have seen them in Little Rockfish Creek, which runs right directly behind my house. Now, they're not there all the time, but every now and then you can hear them. They do a lot of splashing. That's the telltale sign. Every now and then you will hear one.
I don't know what noise they make other than.
When I first read this today, I thought you were talking about a beaver. And that's it. No, she's talking about beavers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any more
I make a
discussion?
motion.
Motion, we have a second, all in favor for the Beaver contract. Then none opposed, motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much for the education about beavers. Item B. Authorizing the town manager to accept the bid from Morgan's Truck and General Construction, execute a contract for construction services in the amount of $1,456,577.50 for the replacement of the stormwater infrastructure, curb and gutter, and asphalt paving on Accent and Hall Glen Drives located in the Woodland Hill subdivision, and approve corresponding budget amendment number 8, and that's under tab 12. I believe we're going to have a tag team tonight between Don and Beth, aka Beaver Contract.
This is the project that we started in August of 2022. Started when we had a road literally erupt from hydraulic pressure, groundwater through there. We had a contract with the stormwater engineer that when they first came through, they cambered the line. We found extensive damage of the stormwater lines out there to the point that we asked them to come back and camber the remainder of the lines. And then they also did hydraulic surveying out there. With that said, they've designed a repair for it that will optimize the stormwater system in that neighborhood. Part of it is going to be to put a subsurface, sub-base drainage under the road to help keep the water away from the roadway so we don't have those types of damages again. And then, of course, the asphalt.
Don, the main question from residents that live on the 2 streets there is, how is this project going to be able to mitigate flooding
Good luck.
in this area?
That's what we have.
I knew she'd be back. And I want to say that several of the residents that have had concerns about recent flooding on these 2 roads, especially this last time when Debbie come through here, there was a lot of flooding. One of them is Mr. Louis Oatman, who is unable to be here tonight due to he's at home. But that was a question that Mr. Oatman wanted to have asked, along with another gentleman that was here the last time, Command Sergeant Major King, who lives in this area, along with several residents that live close by to both of these gentlemen. So that's the main question, and if the answer is no, then what can be done?
Okay, this is the area in question, and if you look at Hollywood Drive, it doesn't show up all the best on the slide, but there's a bubble area right there. That bubble is a federally identified wetland, which typically identifies low points, topographical low points that stay wet enough to sustain certain plant and animal life that require a certain amount of water to be there. In addition to that, if you look up a Fox Ridge, you will see a channel that comes down. That is a drainage area and also identified wetland area directly up the creek. So you've got those areas right in there. And then if you look to the left across the street from Rocky Road at Haskell, there's another wetland. So an area is surrounded by wetlands. This is the first challenge. And that's like a larger overview of it. And you can see almost in its entirety the backyards for Hall Glen and Hall Wood are wetland areas. And so you're going to have a certain amount of hydraulic accumulation. It's just the nature of the beast. Okay. This overview, if you look at the line that we have drawn there from Hallwood up to the drainage area, it's only 696 feet. From the drainage area to the creek to Hallwood Street, which in the world of floodwaters is nothing. If you look to the west at the wetland area at Haskell across Coffee, that's only 618 feet away. So that area is not only is it surrounded by wetland area, but it's in the wetland area. And then the last thing we have that's working against us, the areas that I've got marked off there, the elevation is 118 feet above sea level. Hallwood, and it doesn't come in fractions of a foot, but when you look up the, what's my elevation charts, goes to the nearest foot. So Hallwood, Hall Glen, the elevation is 118 feet above sea level. In the area around Haskell, the elevation is 118 feet above sea level. The creek is about 197 to 100. To the south, up on Ascent Drive, where a lot of the water comes from, is 140 feet. Water flows downhill. I can't put it, and I don't want to minimize it and make it sound callous, but the water is flowing to where it's supposed to go. You have a higher elevation that flows to the area where they are at. Unfortunately, in order to do any type of repair, essentially you would have to either lower the creek, which you can't do, or you would have to elevate the neighborhood, which you can't do. I'm not sure what, I get the frustration that residents have, but I'm not sure what the ask or if there's not a reasonable ask right now.
So I would like to follow up with what Don is saying to, the likelihood of us getting 26 to 30 inches of rain in the mountains again in the near future is slim to none. There are always going to be situations that we have in town that we're dealing with weather, which I don't know how many residents I have to tell, we don't control the rain. I wish I had that power, but we don't. If we have a rain event and we get 2 inches of rain and the creeks are full, which is what happened with Hallwood, it's in a hole, okay, so they're getting the runoff from everybody around them, and their water drains directly to the creek. There is no treatment system because it was all done prior to stormwater regulation. There is piping that leads out of there, but that piping leads directly to the creek. So when the creek fills up, just like a glass of water, you can only put so much in that glass, and then it starts to spill over. When it spills over, if it's on a flat surface, it's going to stay right there by the glass. If it's somewhere else, that water is going downhill from the glass. So when the creek fills up, the end of the pipe is full of water, and no more water can get in. So it goes into the pipe system, and then it bubbles over out of the storm drain boxes on the street, just like the cup overflows. So whoever is in the low spot is gonna get the water. Now, I have been here for 12 years, and Hallway has never flooded. I've never gotten a call from Hallway.
Until now.
Until this most recent event where all of our creeks were full. We got, what did you say, 4 inches in 2 hours?
Well, the latest one we had after the hurricane, we had 4.3 inches in 2 hours.
Now, Beth, the residents there claim that their property has flooded numerous times. Numerous times.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, when I worked for the town, and I mean, I can recall 2 or 3 flooding events over there where that area flooded when we had heavy rains. So, my question would be like, I understand, so this project, what you're saying is, this.
This is not a flood mitigation project.
Yeah, so is it gonna relieve anything?
This is
gonna help? Is it, if it's not gonna help, and if they built a neighborhood on wetlands, how did that, which is before any of our time here on the floor, those are older houses there, and that's our older, neighborhood in town, but, you know, did they not disclose to these people that they were buying a house that was built on top of a wetland when they bought the house? I mean,
So,
what?
on my experience with wetlands, they move. So, it may have not been a wetland when they built it, there was wetlands around it, but when they put the homes there, then the wetland kind of moved into the area.
Development affects the hydraulics.
I'm all for trying to help the problem and, you know, do what we can do to try to help mitigate it, but, I mean, like I said, I mean, we're looking at spending a lot of money.
This project is not for Hollywood.
Yeah.
This project is for Woodland Hills because their storm system is collapsing.
You know what I'm saying, but is that gonna help keep water off of them?
It will optimize the drainage from Woodland Hills. So there's a chance it'll keep some water during non-catastrophic rain events from traveling to the Hallwood area, but it's not going to eliminate the flooding during heavy rain events. What this project is meant to do is to repair and replace all the storm system, because if we don't do that, we already know, and you've seen some of the pictures that are put in the packages, that some of the piping is already starting to collapse. And if we don't do the repairs, the pipe collapses and the streets collapse on top of the pipe.
And you may have already answered my question, I'll ask it again, but, I may say this is not a project for Hallwood, but is this project replacing this storm drain system, whatever, is it gonna ease some of that off of?
It will optimize the drainage off of Woodland.
And what's the chances of having us, of us spending this money to replace this? I feel like we've got to do it. I'm just asking questions here. We've got to do something to help the problem, but what's to say we spend all this money and the next 4-inch rainstorm in an hour that we get, it's gonna blow it out again? I mean,
It's not gonna blow out what we repair. We're not repairing Hallwood, we're repairing.
I know we're not repairing Hallwood,
And
we're,
Hallwood.
yeah. But what I'm saying is if we're repairing a system that has already been blown out, or where the water backed up and, you know, caused the problem, and we go in there and fix it, the next, you know, 2 or 3 days of rain we have, and the creek's already backed up, and we have another 4-inch rain event in an hour, is it just gonna blow that system out again when we redo it? I mean, is this gonna be like a recurring thing?
These two things are not the same.
I think
understand what I'm saying. I understand we're not trying to fix Hallwood. We're not gonna fix that flooding issue. It's still gonna happen. I understand that. I know it's 2 separate things. What I'm saying is the system that we're talking about reconstructing here and the work that's gonna be done and the amount of money that we're looking at spending to throw at this problem, what I'm asking is this gonna fix the issue we're trying to fix.
Yes.
How long is that gonna be for? Are we gonna have another 2 or 3 days of rain and the creek's backed up and everything's full and we have another 4-inch rain to be in the hour? Is it gonna blow this system back out?
Woodland Hills, the storm that we recently had
Was
was
it
not
the
the
reason why
cause of
Woodland
Woodland
Hills
Hills. The Woodland
I-
Hills project.
And I think what Beth and Don is saying is the origin of the Woodland Hills project is not due to the 2-inch rain. This is normal old wear and tear of an older system. So we're talking about two completely different projects. This is an old deteriorated system that needs to be fixed, but it's not tied to all.
This gets back to our last session at 6 o'clock when I asked the question. I guarantee you that our staff, when that neighborhood was built, the staff that was here at the time, did not go out there and do any underground, they did not follow it, they didn't do any inspections. And I guarantee you that's why we're in this situation now. That's why I asked the question I did at our 6 o'clock meeting, to make sure that we don't do this again, and we don't have this problem again, that our staff is going out and, our staff is putting eyes on the underground and the infrastructure going in the ground in the town limits of Hope Mills to make sure it meets our standard.
When those projects
we're not
like that going on, we spend innumerable hours.
Oh, I know.
Friends on site.
Oh, I know, but that's important for us to do, and we got to do that, so we're not in this situation.
On top of that, we have hired an engineering firm that represents the town for the installation and replacement of this system underground. When it was put in, it was done by a developer with, like you said, minimal oversight, and there were no ordinances in place to require them to do anything, so they put in the bare minimum.
So that's why we're having these ordinance meetings, and the meeting we had at 6 o'clock, so we're not here spending this amount of money again in the future.
And I think the two different avenues that all of us are doing the plan review is you're fixing the old, you're trying to mitigate the old stuff that was put in place under different conditions, and you're holding the new development to a very high standard. And I can't speak on behalf of our staff. Anything new coming in, they're not getting out of plan review. It's not in compliance. There are things that we do simultaneously have to deal with, which is tied to old wear and tear of areas that may or may not have been developed a certain way, or may have been developed in a different time frame in terms of the analysis and oversight.
Mr. Scarrolla?
Thank you. My question, okay, this would probably answer, how old is that system? Do we know? Just a roundabout.
I believe that started back in the late 80s.
So 40-year-old system.
It's past its due, and it was on the stormwater master plan. It was on there when that was created back in 2009, and the addition was the 2011 addition.
All right, so 40 years before we had any oversight from town staff, it was put in by a developer, so it is long overdue, and it'll get done correctly this time, so.
What this will do is, it's not going to eliminate catastrophic flooding. During normal rain events, what it will do is optimize the storm system so that we don't get the sheet flow onto the highway. And then, of course, it'll make the repair on the Woodland Hills. And then the drainage that we're adding to Woodland Hills hopefully will help with the street system that's up there too, that we've got problems with this groundwater.
Okay, Commissioner Frager first, and then Commissioner Lake.
What will it take to completely fix that where Hotwood and those streets over there will not go back through? I was told there's about 35 empty homes out there. Some of them have been repossessed because they can't afford to go in and fix their homes, so they're having to leave it. Now the banks are taking it. What can we do, and about what would it cost to eliminate their whole problem?
All of it?
Can I say something? You saying it's built around wetlands.
Yes, ma'am.
There's nothing we can do about it.
Don gave you the two options.
Like I said, you either lower the creek or you raise the land.
Neither one of you.
The creek can't be dug out deeper, no more water.
You know, and that's unfortunately, that's the problem with the wetlands. And once Elizabeth had mentioned earlier is that with development, the wetlands move. And it's literally a moving target as you have growth and development in areas. You know, and a lot of times, the problems that we have were caused by development pre-stormwater because they weren't required to treat or to hold certain amounts of water, so everything was allowed to run off into the creeks or into neighborhoods and areas like that. So we are trying to literally retrofit and optimize. And so this is not going to fix the flooding on Hollywood. What this will do is during the normal rain event, it will optimize the drainage from Woodland Hills so that it doesn't go onto the area around Hollywood.
There's no way to put in more drainage.
You have to have some place for it to go though, Mike. That's the problem. When the creek is up, it's when the creek raises, it's literally shutting the door on the drainage system because the drainage system flows into the creek.
See, that's my question.
So when the outfalls are overcome by the creek, there's no place for the water to go but to back up. If you look at places like Beaver Circle, if you go out there and you watch during a heavy rain event at the storm drain systems that are in there, because there is so much back pressure and hydraulic pressures on those systems, it's nothing to stand out there and watch water coming out of the storm drain 2 to 3 feet in the air. It's like a little geyser. You just get that much back pressure off of the creeks that it cannot overcome that force.
Okay. Commissioner Lane?
Yes, sir, thank you, Mayor. I believe we have a solution to the problem of Beaver. The man that works there told me week before last, maybe longer than that they were gonna drain all that water from Collier School and Beaver Circle around in front of the movie theater and dispose of it over there. I don't know what truth there is, but I just asked her, I said, what are we gonna do with that water? Is it gonna run right across here and down?
No, that's part of the DOT project for the county road widening. They are adding a drainage system that goes to Beaver Circle and it will run back to the back there. That is one of the reasons why, whenever the question I've been asked about Beaver Circle, a lot of folks thought I was being sarcastic or facetious when I said, you write a $4.5 million check and I can fix it. Well, the truth of it is, in order to fix it, you gotta take that water and build a drainage system out to Millstone, and that costs $4 million.
And that's the closest exit.
And that water will empty out in Little Rockfish Creek, which is right below my house.
Now, one thing that we did do, and I've got an appointment with engineers tomorrow, is I've already talked to DOT, and we're working up some calculations for Beaver Circle so that when they do the Camden Road widening, that we will be able to tap into their drainage system so we can run water off of Beaver Circle. And then at some point in the future, Don's vision is to do a full repair on there and then take over the town either by eminent domain, adverse possession, some kind of legal avenue that we might be able to do that and take it over. But until that drainage is fixed, Beaver Circle will never be repaired.
Okay. Beth, one last question. There's only one drainage that goes into the creek on Hallwood.
So that's part of the problem. Hallwood drainage is tied into, what's the streets behind there? Basically, if you go down Heather, no.
And the other one?
An entire separate neighborhood, they go,
Fairway Forest.
yes, it's Fairway Forest, but, Cynthia Street.
Oh, another one.
All drive.
Achilles. So the drainage from Achilles off of Heather Street
Right.
drains this way. The drainage from Hallwood drains this way. They meet into a very large pipe that dumps out into a creek bed that runs underneath Heather Street and to the creek. So when that backs up in the creek, it backs up in the drainage way, and that pipe is shared between the two. So, and there's wetland on the other side of the Healy's and also in the neighborhood back there as well. But I was gonna, Don was in the middle of something. So wetlands are driven by groundwater.
Right,
It's
right.
not rainwater.
Yeah, it's groundwater, yes.
From aquifers underneath the ground. There's nothing that any human can really do about that. And once it becomes a jurisdictional wetland, we have no authority to touch or mess with or do anything with.
That's the only drainage that's acceptable for Hallwood. There's no other way to pipe it off, other than what's existing right now.
That's the low point, so that's one of the problems.
Hallwood is just like Beaver. It sits in the low spot in a bowl. It looks flat when you go out there, but if you take into account everything around it, it's sitting in a bowl. So that water has one place to go. In John's depiction, there's 600 feet one way and 600 feet the other way where there is an outlet for their water.
Even if we were to add additional stormwater drainage on that road, it's still going to back up.
Where would you put the drainage?
Yeah.
It's completely built out, so we would require a house, and then where would you take the water, is the question that we would have to ask. Where would you take that water? Because if we run another pipe, we could run 6 more pipes, and they could all go to the same thing, but once that drainage way backs up, all 6 pipes are covered with water, they're all filled, and no water can get out.
So everything's going to the creek, and once that creek comes up, it doesn't matter where those pipes are coming from. It's going to back up. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, we would.
I'm trying to understand.
We could replace pipe, but we can't, you're right. We would, at this point in the game, we would be required to treat any water. So we would have to have a place to treat stormwater and then an overflow that is not going to affect somebody else's life.
We could not pipe it correctly.
That's kind of where I'm going. That's exactly where I'm going. Is there an option where we could pipe it direct to the creek? And that's a no?
No.
That's a hard no.
A hard, it's even better, okay, a hard no.
And that's it, you go to jail now.
We are required to treat runoff
Right.
in 2024 and have been since 2006. So when that was built, they weren't required to treat the stormwater, they could just run it directly to the creek. We don't have that option. We would have to treat, especially if we put in a new drainage system, it would require treatment. That's at a state level.
But a new drainage system is an option though. No, it's not. Is that a hard no?
Where would it go?
Where would, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Where would it go?
Bottom line is you cannot take it to the creek.
You cannot take it to the creek.
You have to keep it on your own property.
And then you would have to find somewhere for it to overflow to where it would not directly affect another citizen.
Well, I'm glad that we're having this discussion because these residents have lost a lot. And like Commissioner Marley said, that over past years, this area has flooded. And they're looking for us to at least provide some type of relief. They've been here numerous times. Doesn't sound like we've got any mitigation relief for them tonight. Okay. Any other comments from the board?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we authorize the town manager to accept the bid from Morgan's Trucking and General Construction and execute a contract for construction services in the amount of $1,456,577.50 with a 10% contingency of $145,642.50 and approved budget amendment number 8.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Don, you're up next for item C, authorizing the town manager to accept a bid from Diamond Constructors Incorporated, execute a contract for construction services in the amount of $33,773.65 for Deaver Circle road maintenance and approve corresponding budget amendment number 9. We're going to have an additional item here with the resolution, but we'll talk about item C first.
We are engaging Deaver Circle at this point in time as a function of the Camden Road widening project. Up until now, there was no light at the end of that tunnel as to where the rainwaters or the stormwaters would go. With the Camden Road widening, they're going to be placing drainage there. So our intent is as a safety measure for the town, knowing that that's coming in the near future, we're looking at taking up the first 100 linear feet and doing a full depth replacement. Because if I were to tell you that the subbase right there was poor, I'd be bragging on it. We're going to be doing some mill and fill and 2 fairly large point repairs where those potholes have been typically forming over the years. Our intent is to get a good 5 to 7 years out of it. That would give DOT time to do their project. And as I stated earlier, we've already engaged with DOT and one of our stormwater engineers, and they do the calculations for sheet flow off of Deaver Circle into the DOT drainage system.
Over 2,000 residents that use Deaver Circle thank us for what we're doing tonight to repair that roadway for them. They truly do.
No, I'll be able to make a motion.
Yeah, I was waiting.
I'll make a motion, we authorize the town manager to accept the bid from Diamond Constructors Incorporated and execute a contract for construction services in the amount of $33,773.65 and approve budget amendment number 9 for $33,775.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, and I'm gonna tell you something, if I could vote, I would vote with the board as well. This has been a long, long time coming. All in favor? Seeing none opposed. That motion carries. We've got an additional item to approve resolution R 2024-017, authorizing repairs to Deaver Circle. It's an additional. I will read the resolution. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Hope Mills to authorize the repair of Deaver Circle Street, resolution number R 2024-017, whereas the Town of Hope Mills does not have any ownership interest in Deaver Circle Street, but desires to take steps to improve the roadway for public safety purposes. Whereas at the regular board meeting on September 16, 2024, the Public Works staff received authorization from the Board of Commissioners, this board, to proceed with getting proposals for street improvements on Deaver Circle. Whereas the Board of Commissioners wishes to proceed with making necessary repairs to Deaver Circle Street, but does not wish to take the ownership of the street. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Hope Mills, North Carolina, that the Town of Hope Mills will expend funds to make necessary repairs to Deaver Circle Street in order to promote public safety, but expressly declines to accept ownership of the street for any purpose, including maintenance and future repairs. Adopted the 7th day of October, 2024, the Town of Hope Mills Board of Commissioners.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution R 2024-017, authorizing repairs to Deaver Circle.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Seeing none carries, the motion carries. The resolution motion will carry along with the bid. Moving on to item D, consideration and approval to amend the bylaws of the Hope Mills Economic Development Committee under tab 14. Before I get into this, I want to thank our town attorney, Dan Hartzog, for drafting up this resolution today to present to the board tonight. And that's the reason why it wasn't in the packet, is because it was being drafted up for consideration and approval tonight. So anyone that was looking for the packet from last week, that's the reason why it wasn't included, just a bit of information. But we've got them both together tonight. And Dan, thanks again for that, Chancellor, for you weighing in and we getting that resolution finished and approved by the board tonight. Board, last December, or actually going into January of this year, we approved to reestablish our Economic Development Committee. And with that said, we're looking at updating the current bylaws of what the committee looks like. So there's a proposal of what the membership on the bylaws committee will look like tonight, and each of you have a copy of that. We wanted to keep this the committee at 13 members. And with that said, we're looking at 7 voting members. And who are those 7? Originally, I thought we could have both the mayor pro tem and a commissioner serve on this economic development committee, but it would take an opportunity away from a Hope Mills citizen. So we looked at 4, keeping the mayor pro tem, the town manager, our planning and economic development services director, Emily, and Betty Lynn, who is our appointee from the Cumberland County Joint Planning Board, as 4 of the 7. And we will offer membership to the community for 3 citizens to serve on this committee with full voting rights. That's 7. The other 6 are those that hold a position in our community and surrounding municipalities. It would be a representative from the town of Hope Mills Chamber of Commerce, representative from Cumberland County Planning and Inspections Department, representative from Fayetteville Cumberland County Economic Development Corporation, a representative from NCDOT, a representative from Cumberland County Schools, and last, a representative from NC Department of Commerce, NC Main Street and Rural Planning Center, the Sand Hills Prosperity Center. That's the makeup, proposed makeup, of our 13-member newly approved Economic Development Committee. I'm asking the board if they will approve this bylaw change and also approve the first meeting of the committee for October 29th, 11 to 1. That's a Tuesday, I think. And it'll be 11 to 1 here in Town Hall.
I'll make that motion to the motion.
The motion is second, and then we'll call for the vote. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion about the membership and the change of the bylaws before we call for the vote? Commissioner Swell?
Yes, Mayor, just one question. Have any of the non-voting members, have you reached out to see if they even have interest?
These were the makeup of our prior Gateway committee that we had some years ago that was established, and then it went into hibernation when COVID came in. And then now we're bringing it back. And yes, just about all of these, and Chancellor can confirm too, have interest on serving on our Economic Development Committee. Yeah.
From Southview High School. It's just going to be.
It's going to be a representative from Cumberland County Schools. So that'll be up to Cumberland County Schools to appoint that representative. Just like all of them don't have a per name. The organizations will send someone. Probably Rob Patton will come from Economic. Our Hope Mills Chamber of Commerce, that'll probably be Marcy, president, or Marcy. That'll probably be whomever the board wants to designate. Okay. Motion made. Nothing else? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, thank you very much. Bylaws are now amended. Moving on to item E, which is consideration to begin crafting a Town of Hope Mills comprehensive strategic plan, no attachments. I want to thank our Mayor Pro Tem, Dr. McCray, for providing some information on the last strategic plan that was started, I guess, by Drew back in 21. And I did not have any of this information because I was on the board at that time. But I'm asking the board that since we're starting our newly Economic Development Committee and we're getting ready to go into the planning process of a budget year starting in January, let's begin the process that was put on hold, I guess, back in 21. And that's why I shared that memorandum with everybody tonight. So who would take the lead, Chancellor? Would this be you or Drew, or we would come back with another workshop? Is that kind of what we're looking at doing?
Combination of both. We kind of do have some.
We already got some
ideas, but it's something that I do think is needed. I think it's something that is doable. But the one word that comes to mind when I look at this is vision. This is about having a vision for the future of this town. So this is definitely something that we can put a package together and come back to you guys with some recommendations.
I'm glad to hear that, because when I was at the mayor's conference in Wilmington, we had a lot of discussion about comprehensive strategic plan vision. A lot of discussion with them, and there were 100 mayors there from various municipalities across the state, and all centered around this plan, which is something that I brought back along with other things that I'll probably share on October 21st. But I wanted to begin the conversation that a prior board had started, and there's a lot of different research that's there. Yeah, I mean, the frame is there. We just need to go ahead and build a house.
Mayor, what kind of motion?
A motion to go ahead and a motion to begin the process to craft the comprehensive strategic plan.
I'll be glad to put that in form of a motion.
Second. All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Any none opposed? Okay, let's start the car up again. Last one is F, update on ATVs and UTVs within the Town of Hope Mills.
Excuse me, Mayor, before you get to that item, did you guys want to vote on Miss Janet Singletary?
I was gonna put that in item G.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I got you, Ashley.
So I guess I'm up with the ATVs. So we have had this conversation before. Recently, we've been engaged by with focus on the area near Prince Amelia Street. And just for clarification, that street dead ends at a very large piece of property that was recently annexed in about maybe 4 or 5 years ago for West Hampton subdivision. It's been approved, but it couldn't move forward until an outfall was put in by the PWC. They're actually in the process of doing it now. But there were questions about if this our jurisdiction or not. I will confirm that this area is inside the town limits. Now, the terrain of this area is very heavily wooded, trails and things of that nature. So in regards to the ATVs and four-wheelers, I want to make sure people understand this is not even a countywide. This is the southern thing, people driving ATVs. What we've talked about before hasn't changed in terms of the legalities and the approach and the regulations that govern how our officers do respond to some of these instances. Many times the challenge is, one, if it's in a terrain that our police cars can't actually follow in. Just south of this large area is county property. And so everything to the south of Prince Amelia is very, very wooded, undeveloped. The adjacent part to that dead end street is town. The area beyond that is not town. And so in terms of the stance of our police officers, they actually are out doing everything they can within reason. But I want to read the official statement in terms of my response to the issue. The town is in receipt of correspondences regarding concerns about the operation of four-wheelers and other non-authorized vehicles traveling on public streets. As addressed in previous months, the police department is aware of these concerns and are also aware that the operation of these vehicles on public streets are prohibited. Where possible, the police department will continue to take enforcement action to prevent the operation of these vehicles on public streets. However, the interest in stopping these vehicles must be weighed against the potential dangers of engaging in vehicle pursuits as evidenced in our pursuit policy, which allows officers to engage in a pursuit only when the need for immediate apprehension of the suspect outweighs the danger of the public created by engaging in the actual pursuit. The town will continue to monitor these issues and occurrences to ensure that the safety of our citizens remain at a high level. What doesn't help and what complicates it even more are donut hole areas. What areas are in the town, what areas are not in the town. If it's privately owned and the person that owns the property has given authorization, that's a different conversation as well. That does not mean we're ignoring these actual issues that are being addressed, but I want to make sure we remain focused on the jurisdictional authority that our officers do and do not have. We're dealing with four-wheelers. And so in the event this road or Prince Amelia is a dead-end road that dead ends at a forest almost. And so if that pursuit goes beyond that paved roadway, we are very limited of what we can and can't do. And so I say that to say we're not ignoring the concerns. We're not addressing them. We're doing whatever we can within the confines. And it's on a case-by-case basis. I do think one of the recent incidents that happened this week, the officer was able to flag down the young man or the kid that was on the four-wheeler to let them know, like, you can't do this in this area, things of that nature. You have HOAs in this area, and that's something that's a different mechanism altogether in terms of the authority we have and they have that are separate. But I wanted to make sure everyone understands that we're not ignoring these issues. We just look at it on a case-by-case basis, and we do whatever we can with the authority that we can.
Thank you, Chancellor. This isn't an HOA issue. This is an issue of compliance, because there's shootings that are going on in this area as well. Someone's going to get hurt. I mean, I hope not. I truly do. I truly hope that no one will be hurt here. But you've got 8 ATVs that are just running down the road. You've got shootings that are gunfire that's going on in the back of that neighborhood. And when residents call, they call because they're concerned. They call because activity is happening in their neighborhoods that's unlawful. And I think that's what we have to keep our focus on, is besides who owns what, this is an unlawful activity that's going to end up with someone seriously injured. And I think we have to be mindful of that when residents call. Commissioner Sewell?
Now, I know one of the concerns was that the citizen had contacted the police officers, and the police officer was actually able to catch up with some of the people that were trespassing. Her concern was, and it was kind of my concern as well, is if someone from the HOA was there, I want to press trespassing, and the officer kind of let it slide. Is there something weird? Is there something more that the HOA needs to do? Is there what needs to be done to make sure that she is able to enforce the no trespassing?
what makes that complicated, I'm not sure if that situation, which is very unique, when we say trespassing, it's very delicate because it's trespassing if it's on HOA owned property. If it's another resident that probably owns that piece, that is a different conversation. So if someone that's a representative of the HOA is upset at this coming in that area, but the property they're on isn't property specifically owned by the HOA, but probably owned by someone else, that's a completely different conversation. I do know that when we had this conversation about TJ Robinson, the HOA put no parking signs on the side of the road in steeplechase. That's a different conversation because if that car is found on that property where it's posted as private, it can't be towed. I'm not sure if the kid that was stopped was driving on property that was owned by the HOA or not. That's one thing I'm looking into, but I do know that I wouldn't characterize it as the officers let it slide. I would think that it's very delicate with the authority that we do and don't have. That is something that we're continuing to look into. I do think the issue with now you're talking about shootings and guns, that takes it to a completely different level. But there has been some frustration from the police side on the PD side because if they're out in the country in the woods shooting, by the time they get there, they're gone. And so it's just a very, very challenging issue to address, but it's not something that we're ignoring.
And then even with the donut holes, because I looked at the GIS map and there's donut holes of county land. So
that's one reason why I clarified at the beginning of this piece that piece is in the town, because there was some back and forth with the end of the dead end of Prince Dominion. That is town property. Now what will happen is that outfall is almost complete. We anticipate the submission of the development that's about 180 houses. And so when that development happens in that area, that should eliminate that area from being an area that four-wheelers can drive in. And so some of these things end up handling themselves as development continues to move forward. But this is something that we're having constant internal conversations on. How can we get creative? What can we do? As I sit beside our attorney on things we can, and we have the jurisdictional authority to do. That does not mean that's a no. It just means that we got to get kind of creative on how we address these.
Well, here's an idea to get creative. If residents provide addresses to our police department, can our officers go and knock on these doors and have a conversation with those residents?
That would be a challenge too, because most four-wheelers don't have a requirement for driver's license. For license plates. Now, if it's a motorcycle, that's different. Four-wheelers is an ATV. So how would you find out where that person lives? Now, if we did find that out, then that is a conversation that we can pursue.
Okay.
But that is something.
So if residents provided addresses, then our police department would go.
I do think I can speak for PD. If we had actionable information to actually move forward with, they would do that. Because I think from this past weekend, several of the officers were actually walking in the woods trying to actually identify where some of them were. What they were saying is that they couldn't drive the cars in there because our fleet cars are not equipped to drive in those.
I understand that.
Yeah. But I think it might have been several of them that were walking through areas trying to figure something out as to where they were. But that's something that I can continue to talk to our chief about. I'm trying to get creative, trying to
I was trying to watch TV yesterday, and my phone did nothing but ring. There's, over there where Ed Herring Park is, the 7 people from that area called me. I made the mistake by giving one of them a card with my number on it, and they all got it. But there's 7 of them, and I told them I would bring it up tonight. Not that we can do anything about it tonight, but I guess people are coming down the Ed Herring Park and flying out through there and going down the power line. And I don't know what we can do about that, because I don't know who that power line belongs to, but I'm sure it's not us.
I think if I'm not mistaken, they used to have the same problem on the back end of South Main neighborhood, because that's an area, they had a big, area in the county, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Willie Mitchell's the HOA president, they were having issues with people shooting out there as well. And so, I think the backside of Valley Inn, which is, I think, in the same area. So we've had some of those instances, and maybe we can look at some of the historical ways that they address in other areas, but that's something that maybe I can kind of periodically bring you guys back and report on some of the things we're doing.
They could catch up right in my driveway if they wanted to, or needed to.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Legg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. We'll move on to item G, which was added. It's a board application form for Janet Singletary to go on the Homelessness Advisory Committee. Second. Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Okay. Seeing none opposed, that motion carries. Our last item tonight before we adjourn is some reports and information item.
Nora Armstrong, Heritage HBC. It's on consent.
It's only consent.
Okay, but I just told her they met, we did petition to hear, but she got put on it.
Oh, okay. I can back up. Okay. On the consent agenda, under item D, was the appointment of Nora Armstrong to the Historic Preservation Committee. And that was approved on the consent agenda. And with that said, I believe the HPC meeting is Wednesday. Is it Wednesday this week? Okay, and it's going to be at the chapel. Some key dates, I'm only going to talk about a couple of them. Thursday, October 17th is our next community public forum, and that's over in Parks and Rec building, starting at 6 p.m. That's next Thursday, and then Saturday is Old Mill Day Festival, and that's in the park, and it kicks off at 10 a.m. And our next board meeting will be Monday, October 21st at 7 p.m. That's just the next three big ones, and then there's some other committee meetings. It's been a long night. Before we adjourn, I want to thank three people for Deaver Circle on behalf of the 2,000 residents, and those three people are Don, Beth, and Bruce. Thank you very much for all three of you to come together to find a solution to fix a problem that will benefit so many residents in our community. And I just wanted to say that. Okay, motion to adjourn? Oh, wait a minute, I jumped over one. Staff comments. Wait a minute, staff comments? Going once, going twice? Start over here at the bullpen, work our way down the wall, on back wall. No staff comments? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Second, we're adjourned.
Did I say 9:15? You did.
I should know 2 weeks time.